Welcome to the Afterspin, opinions from thought leaders in our state. I want to ask John Hood and Chris Fitzsimon. Senate President Pro Tem Phil Berger was the subject of criticism recently when he or his staff changed the news headline of a News and Observer story on his Facebook page. The headline was altered to lead his believers to think Governor Cooper had flip-flopped on HB 2. The paper protested, and Facebook officials say that he had violated the rules of posting. Berger's staff said they did nothing wrong because a click-through to the paper's website showed the original headline. How big a deal is this? John?
It's not a big deal at all. Now, Facebook has had this feature for a long time. A number of people that I know have used it in the past. They would make a link to a news site. They would change the headline or make the headline more interesting to their particular people reading their feed. Facebook has allowed this. They have an actual trick that you can do this. Lots of people do it. Now, should Phil Berger's office have done it? No. Particularly when John Drescher, who was the editor of the News and Observer, called him on it, and their answers were kind of silly and argumentative. Well, at least your headlines are also fake. The truth is, it was not a particularly useful thing for them to do in the Berger's office, but neither was it an outrage. The fact that it made the news was actually kind of pathetic.
Well, it shows a lack of what's going on.
Well, what's pathetic?
What's
pathetic is that you'd have a political staff who is paid, by the way, by the taxpayers, using a Facebook tool to change newspaper headlines to make it look like the News and Observer headline was criticizing Roy Cooper when it was not. Why can't they just put the story up there with a link to it with the same headline? It may have been slightly overblown, but I think the pathetic nature is that you have staff people for Phil Berger sitting around in their offices manipulating headlines, not just from the News and Observer, WBTV, some other news outlets. They're so worried about the impression that his Facebook, that the newspaper stories and the TV stories have, that's what they're spending their time doing. And then they have the original story in there anyway, so what are they doing it for in the first place? I think the pathetic behavior is from Berger's staff.
All right, did they get their hands sufficiently slapped so that we probably won't have much of this going on again?
I would guess so. And again, I agree with Chris that it was not worth the effort. It just got them more bad publicity than when it was fun. I guess they were doing it because they thought it was funny. It was foolish, but I also think that rising to the level of a major story in the newspapers of North Carolina is questionable.
Yeah.
I hope they don't do it again, but we'll see.
All right. Well, thank you for watching the Afterspin. We'll have more video all during the week on ncspin.com.